There are two parties in this negotiation scenario, the first of which is Cricket Australia. Now, Cricket Australia represents the sort of governing, overseeing body for all of Australian cricket. Whether it's domestic or international play, Cricket Australia is sort of there and monitors everything, such as the the national Australian team. Now, this organization is completely outraged by this ball tampering scenario. They are the ones who are able to conduct an investigation. They are the ones who levy punishments, and they are the ones absolutely outright outraged and embarrassed by what these three players did under their jurisdiction. And this embarrassment is not just this organization, it is all of Australia as a whole, and they are representing that. They are representing the Prime Minister speaking out against this team, saying that the players should be punished. They are speaking on behalf of every Australian who is embarrassed by this situation because their country values cricket very highly, and they have a very respectable team, and they have an incredible reputation that they have built over decades of cricket play. Now, the other party in this negotiation is the ACA, the Australian Cricketers Association. The ACA is made up of past and current cricketers, some legends of the game and some still playing today. Now, these people are here to sort of serve as a players' union, so to say. They're there to have the players' best interests represented in negotiations and things of that nature. And so the ACA is here as a sort of an alternate opinion here, where Cricket Australia levied a 1 year suspension for all three of these players. The ACA is coming in and trying to be, hey, this is way too unprecedented of a punishment and way too unjustified when past ball tampering suspensions have been only a game or two, or heck, even the ICC only levied a game fine against these three players after they were caught doing it. So what they're trying to say is that this punishment is just completely blown out of proportion and not really doesn't really fit the crime, so to say. Now, while they do have their differences that I just laid out, they do actually have some underlying mutual interests that will help and aid in this negotiation. The first of which is the love for Australian cricket and the love of their country. These two organizations, while different opinions at times, represent Australian cricket, and they either played it or they represented in the cricketers, Cricket Australia. They value what cricket means to this country and they know what it can do for this country. And so they want to keep cricket in Australia at the highest level and they want it to stay cheating free, essentially. Now, that leads into the next point, mutual love for the game. These two sides both have a very vested interest in cricket, period, and never want to see any sort of cheating, especially on the international level, where it could make their country embarrassed or ruin the sport itself. Now, being that there are some similarities and also some differences, there are some communication techniques that these two parties are going to need to use to sort of move this negotiation further. The main one is simply they need to listen and hear each other out. As I said earlier, Australia and the Cricket Australia is outraged by this. They are humiliated, they are embarrassed. The ACA needs to understand that, and I'm sure they do, but they need to be willing to hear out everything that Cricket Australia is going to say about this, and vice versa. The ACA has very valid points in this. They are saying that, hey, this 1 year suspension is much greater than anything that we've ever seen before. So you need to hear them out. You need to be willing to understand that, okay, maybe we rushed the investigation a little bit. Maybe 2 days was not enough time to really fully grasp the entirety of this dilemma in this scandal. And maybe they need to pump the brakes a little bit, go back, and actually levy a much more reasonable punishment. So both sides need to be willing to also, find that middle ground in this scenario. And that leads me into my next point. When trying to figure out what type of negotiation this needs to be, there's without a doubt the only correct answer is an integrative bargaining scenario. And the reason I say that with such certainty is because if either side goes in with a distributive mindset, trying to get that bigger piece of the pie or anything like that, it's going to backfire on them. If the ACA goes in saying, no, 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 this is terrible, like it should only be a 1 game suspension or no suspension at all, Cricket Australia is going to just step back, say, I'm sorry, we don't need to do this. We already levied a punishment, and we're going to stick to it, which would obviously be the worst case scenario for the ACA, and vice versa. If Cricket Australia said, no, it needs to be 1 year no matter what, then the ACA is going to come out and be very against Cricket Australia, and these are their current and past players. This is something they do not want at all. Therefore, the best way to sort of resolve this is by simply finding that common ground, that integrative scenario where both sides potentially can leave happy. That is what will work in resolving this conflict. And now, there are some personalities and barriers that they're going to need to overcome in order to resolve this conflict. The main one is quite simply the embarrassment and the humility that Cricket Australia is facing because of this. These were three players that they consider national treasures, stars in the eyes of all Australians. Their co-captain and their captain were in on this scandal. They hatched it. They planned it. They actually saw it out and tried to get away with it. That's horrible. And Cricket Australia is absolutely outraged because of this. The ACA is absolutely going to need to sort of mitigate this, plan for this, figure out what can we do to lessen the rage that Cricket Australia is feeling right now. And so being willing to hear them out, as I said earlier, is really going to help with sort of, getting them back down to a reasonable point and realizing this is a little more severe of a ball tampering scandal than they've seen in the past, yet it is nothing, worth a 1-year suspension for all of these players. And honestly, I think if both sides can come together, they can realize that yes, while these players did something horrible in the sport of cricket, we can reach a mutually beneficial scenario to this negotiation. Thank you so much.